We are live behind the scenes with another episode of the Run with It. We've got Lindsay Gabbard and Alessandro Pepe here. We're going to jump in to the recording just so you guys know that this is behind the scenes for Facebook Live. Um, we'll let you know when to jump in with the conversation. So I'll start out with reading an intro. I'm Chris Justin. Ethan will introduce himself, read a bio, and then we'll welcome you to the show. You can say hello. I don't think that the interruption makes as much sense here, Ethan, because it's not about new business ideas. You guys can just say hi and then we'll frame it up. You are muted. Okay, cool. Okay, let's do it. Welcome to Run With It, where we bring you business ideas from proven founders. Each episode, you'll hear a new business idea and the exact steps our guest would take to get started. We're your hosts, Chris Justin.
And Ethan Janney. And on today's episode, we have Alessandro Pepe and Lindsay Gabbard. Alessandro has done it all: documentaries, theater, opened multiple wine bars in Dublin, then returned back to Rome, and ultimately was the mastermind behind Rimessa Rascioli, a wine bar and restaurant in Rome, and created the Rascioli Wine Club and Community.wine. And Lindsay came to Italy 5 years ago when she was studying wine in the US. She came to Rimessa Rascioli to do Alessandro's wine tasting, left in awe, fell in love, and ever since did a U-turn to get back. She now is a partner in the business and manages the Rascioli Wine Club along with partners Alessandro and Mattia. But welcome to the show, folks. I hope I pronounced everything right. I was like in the middle of that. I was like, oh yeah, it's Italian.
Rascioli.
Rascioli, see?
Thank you for that correction. So I think that it's really important for us to start out by acknowledging that this is a first for the episode. We've got some wine that we are going to be sampling here throughout the conversation. This is going to be fun. It's 5:30 over there. It's a little bit more respectable for you guys to be drinking than 10:30 a.m. Ethan, what are you doing over there?
Yeah. I ran to go grab a bottle of wine, so it's exciting.
Yeah, I am. I wish that I could be sampling some Rascioli wine, but right now I've got Yellowtail. So don't kill me for that. I can see Alessandro's face is just like, what am I doing?
One of my favorite jokes during my tastings about Yellowtail.
You've got to tell it now.
I used to start my tasting. Welcome to everyone. Doesn't really matter if you're not a wine expert. Whatever you like, you know. Even if you drink Yellowtail, I'm sorry for you, but you can be here. That's my starting line.
I will say that I typically drink better than Yellowtail. Not to throw my mother-in-law to the bus, but I am at her place and this is what I've got. So that's what we're doing.
This is a perfect example of what is actually our goal. You were asking about what is our mission, and to help people like you stop drinking that.
Nice.
It's a really mission, and I was sent by Dionysus, which is actually one of the oldest god registered in the mythology, and I think I'm the prophet that is spreading the word about, stop drinking industrial wine and getting back to using wine as a cultural vehicle. And that is the main issue of Rimessa Rascioli, and that is the main issue of our wine club. Do you need us to say something? Or
I'll get it to it. Let me frame it up here. I think that's a very noble mission, first off. I would love to
trying to get the mic sound of me pouring my wine.
Yeah, Ethan's got his full bottle going there. Yeah, it definitely is. So yeah, noble mission. We will get into that. I want to frame this up for the listener. This episode is a little bit different. Normally, we interview business owners and ask them to share a new business idea that they have. Occasionally, this is the second time that I believe that we're doing this, we will dive into an existing business and try and unpack it in terms of growth opportunities and things that we can do to help existing successful business owners with their business get more customers and grow and achieve the goals that they're seeking. So Lindsay and Alessandro, you were so generous to be able to show us inside your business. You're going to be so generous to do that. And we're going to kick around some ideas with you to help the wine club and the community that you've got grow. So I think as a starting point, it would be really helpful to frame this in terms of the impact of the pandemic. You have a very well-known restaurant in Rome, I imagine, that has lost a good bit of business. Just how deeply has the pandemic affected you, and in what ways, in terms of revenue and employees and everything like that?
But the main issue, we're talking about a company that has got 120 employees divided in 4 different places. So employment is the main issue. Our concern about our employees is actually the main issue. Beside that, I am truly and totally 100% take this situation as a kind of a strange opportunity to twist, to switch a bit our mindset. I used to be, in my job, I tend to be quite creative. I'm not saying that I'm having good ideas, but I'm having a lot of ideas. Probably most of them are bad ideas, but it's my mind never stops, So every morning I have something and comes in mind. And I always thought that I was frustrating this part of myself, and of Lindsay, of course, and all our group, because we were working too much in the restaurant. So the fact that we stopped working for 2 months completely, actually 3 months completely, then slowly, now we're going back actually a bit into business. So it gave us the opportunity to do a mind, change our mindset and our perception, and move a bit to fight this big hog that I called the web. I've been studying a lot.
You have no idea how much money we have invested into the web with terrible results. Everyone promised you they're going to make you $1 million on the web. And so anyways, no, I think I want to just say one thing really quickly. Being American and living in Italy, the first thing that really, really shocked me was how quick Italians are to come together when when a pandemic happens. So, the first thing I feel like you think of in the US is, okay, we've got to cut costs. Here it was, how do we save the employees? It was a completely different shift. And really, we have 27 employees that we have to personally, 30 now, actually. We've hired a few actually even during the pandemic, which doesn't ever usually happen. But that was the first issue we had, was how do we save the entire team? Because where would we let them, if they were to leave, or we were to let them go, where would they go? There was nowhere. So it was immediately, the mission was to save everybody. And that's where we got the idea to really start to working on Community.wine.
And you two are obviously very positive, which is, it must be a testament to or a reflection of your success there, or maybe vice versa. It feeds into your success. I do want to dive a little bit deeper into the low part that you were facing, and it would be great if you don't mind sharing some.
You want to hear some bad story?
I want to hear. How bad did it get? Did you lose?
When did you cry? When did you cry?
I have to say that, the main issue was a psychological and sociological issue, psychosociological with them. It is about dealing with all my employees and speaking with them and trying to maintain a decent amount of rationality, or, and a decent amount of irrationality that could be dealt with. We've lost, I think, $600,000, probably $700,000, probably. We didn't gain it, but the good news is I am a rich entrepreneur that has no money. I never have money in my pocket. I mean, my bank account never has more than $500. Never. No matter if I gain $20,000 a month or 500. So there was no, I didn't feel any difference. I don't have a car. I don't have a Ferrari. I don't buy, all my money is to offer people drink and buy books and travel. That's it. And I reinvest all my money. So I'm free. And I somehow became kind of rich only in the last 2-3 years. So I was not even used to it. I remember one of the first tasting I did, I don't remember, what was the name? He was on the board of Facebook in 2006, and he was the one that started Zuckerberg to build up Facebook. I think he's a billionaire right now. And he said, I became billionaire like in 5 weeks, he said. And then he said, I don't know what to do. I still when I go to the hotel, I still wash my socks in the sink because I don't want to spend the money.
But Well, if you want the real numbers also, business, I would say, is probably down about 60% for us.
65%.
That's
We used to do $200,000 a month, and now we're going back. Like we're going around 90,000.
That's the restaurant mainly that we're speaking.
That's the restaurant. Wine Club is doing quite well, but we used to grow. We were 400 members in September last year, and at the end of the year we were 800 members, and now we gained only 100 members in the last year. So we were, projecting to go to 3,000-4,000 members, 5,000 members, and boom, everything was blocked. And now I said, why don't we invest all our energy to understand this strange ocean of shit that is the social media? And I realized the social dilemma a year before actually it arrived, and I was trying to understand how this could work. And we created a community called community.wine. It doesn't really work at the moment, but we just created a couple of months ago. We have 1,200 members in it, but it's not really interacting a lot. We're trying to understand how do we, make virtual our real experience. I created a connection of more than 250, 300 winemakers that are following us. They're really interested in our project. The idea is to involve also I'm
going to throw in our first little kind of mind shift here, I think. Interesting. Because you said your idea is how do you make your kind of live wine experience virtual, right? That's something you're aiming for. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really great aspiration because you probably have such a great live experience. But one thing that we can talk about and think about today, what I've noticed is some of the online projects that I've done, it's less about making it more like the live experience and more about taking advantage of the non-live experience. So for example, I do some master classes online in the piano industry where people learn how to fix pianos, take care of pianos, right? And of course, it's easy to think, well, I need to go apprentice with someone and sit there right next to them in person and learn from them, or take a class where I get to sit in the same room with them. But now we found there's interesting advantages to having a remote learning. You can rewatch something instead of having to pay attention exactly live and take notes on what's happening. You can get a closer look at things. If you're in a group of people and you're trying to learn from one person and you're all in the same room, really only one or two people get an upfront seat. Whereas if you've got a video camera up front and everybody's watching from a distance, you can see things. So those are advantages of doing things remotely in that particular project. And in addition, I'm not saying not to think about ways to do things live or to bring that live experience to the web, but also think about, what are now the advantages that we have? One of them, of course, is just the global access all of a sudden you have, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, really.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just want to kind of throw that in there.
Really, like we were saying before, the biggest issue is that, of course, our 3D experience was extremely memorable for people. They were traveling. We speak about wine in quite a different way than your typical sommelier does. And so when people leave, their minds are open. I mean, for me, I literally, like I said, did a U-turn and came right back to Italy because of this place, because to me. It spoke to the deep of my heart and what I cared about with wine, which was kind of going beyond the bottle. But yeah, really trying to take what we have. We're starting to do a bit more with videos. I'm practicing because for me, I'm not as good at this, but we're starting to try to use more videos to try to bring the 3D experience a bit more virtually. But that's definitely the issue, is that, our signups for the wine club, of course, will be lower for the mere fact that we don't have visitors in our restaurant at the moment.
I think we'll start peppering in some suggestions for things that you can do. But before we get to that, it would be helpful to describe what you've tried so far in a little bit greater detail. So just to reiterate, you have two main online businesses or online aspects to your business. There's the Wine Club, which is doing a decent amount of revenue, and you've been able to stave off some of the issues that you face with the restaurant via the Wine Club. And then community.wine, it's an online educational platform for people to learn more about wine. So those are the two assets that you have that you're looking to leverage more in order to make up for lost revenue through the restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So one idea that came to mind, go ahead.
I was going to say, in terms of getting those things started, was there anything else that you tried and you decided to toss it to the side, or any other ideas that were a little
I
bit,
think we did everything. Everything possibly we did. We did that. We did live art auction. We did tastings all over the world. We came to New York, to San Francisco, to Facebook. After that, in these 3 months, we did 5 streamings in Langhe, within the Barolo area, with 5 different winemakers. We created a group of 7-8 people to make a kind of a think tank. We started to study neuroscience and neuromarketing, digital marketing, philosophy, misbehaving from Richard Thaler and all these guys. We had the idea to do an auction on wine. We had the idea of creating a wine school here at the restaurant directly with streaming of this wine school. We're promoting the wine club also in Italy, which is kind of a strange thing because Italians, they don't even know what is a wine club. We are trying to create a virtual, we are thinking about involving wine students and young sommelier, especially restaurants at the moment are not working hard. They are not working for the COVID. It's about, why don't you train your team with us? So why don't you train your team, and so that your staff can learn about wine in this easy, efficient, communicative way? Because our way of teaching wine is the opposite, upside down what they do in Corto Master Sommelier, WSET, Italian Sommelier Association. All these schools, they teach you how to, all the technical and scientific part of the wine based on the concept that there is actually a predetermined idea of taste, which is not. There is nothing more fluid and empiric than wine. And the main issue is about that there is no point to learn everything about wine. And when you have 2 minutes at the table to speak with a customer that usually drink Yellowtail, I'm joking, but
Cheers.
So the main issue is about what do you have to learn as a sommelier, as a waiter. You have to learn, the few things that are actually related with stories, but not just because they're more entertaining, because they're actually, the meaning of wine is not its technical data. It's the same way if you have to describe a piece of music, or it's not just about how it's written, it's about the emotion that gives to you. I wouldn't actually organize a painting based on these forms. I mean, unless it is a Mondrian, of course, but most of the painting is about the impression. And nobody focused on that. So that's the thing. It's about, I was thinking about this beautiful future in which I was able to get to 4,000 or 5,000 members, which means becoming the first. At the moment, I am surely the first. We are the first peer-to-peer wine export of Italy. Maybe the second or fourth. I think we are the first right now. But if we get to 5,000 members, it means that we can coordinate the majority of artisan wine of Italy. And Italy is the first, the biggest wine producer in the world, with France sometimes and so on. So it means that with not a lot of, with a business that is $4 or $5 million, you technically are directing a business that is billions of dollars, because that's how wine works.
We'll share the story of Salos, how it worked with.
For example, champagne. Okay, champagne is 305 million bottles. But who directs the market of champagne? There used to be 1-2 players, Moet Hennessy, Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy, and few others. We're talking about Bollinger, but not really Bollinger because it's actually James Bond, but it's Veuve Clicquot, Dom Perignon, and few others. At the end of the 80s, a guy called Celos started to do a specific artisan type of champagne. There used to be a lot of artisan, beautiful champagne, but nobody knew about them. You have to go in a little fancy Michelin restaurant to find those champagne. You don't know it. You don't know this type of champagne. If you drink Yellowtail, I'm going back to that, but I'm going to use you as an example. Okay, thank you for, for supporting this. But the issue is that he created a team of 150 artisan champagne producers, small growers, biological, organic producers. And now they are changing. They're affecting even Cristal, Roederer, and Veuve Clicquot that makes 20 million bottles.
Those champagne,
and the only thing that they were able to do is to weaver these people. It somehow is what you are trying. What are you doing is similar in a way, no? Right?
Yeah, but basically those champagne, now all these big houses are going organic and biodynamic with their farming techniques. So the small winemakers that barely had a voice in the community have now influenced the way that the big guys are working. And that's really what our goal is with behind our Community.Wine project and the Riccioli Wine Club project, is to really change the way wine is made and wine is thought about and discussed. And
so we have a big ambition. Think about Napa Valley. Napa Valley, 99% of Napa Valley wine production is mainly made in the cellar. What does that mean? That you could actually make that wine no matter where the grape comes from. Why? Because they overripe and they use a lot of oak. Guess what? Napa Valley is probably one of the best wine regions in the world for climate and soil. And it makes no sense why they do that, because it's easier, because that's the market. You know, you're used to that kind of Napa. And if you go to Mathiasson, if you go to Arno Roberts or like Keplinger, they're just a little lost, beautiful winemaker. They have, you know, they make astonishing terroir wines. I'm joking about Yellowtail, but what's the problem of Yellowtail? Yellowtail, it doesn't taste of the soil, doesn't taste of the land. It tastes of the smart of the enologist that in the cellar is able to put some powder in it. So it's like a beverage that tastes like wine. Maybe it's beautiful, but it's the Coca-Cola. I call it the chicken McNuggets of wine. You know, there's that type of wine and it tastes always the same, which the beauty of wine that it makes you travel with your palate. So creating a community of these small artisans is about creating a sort of a geography of flavors. No, it's not only talking about Italy. We would like to involve also foreigners winemakers. Yeah, but in US, it's even in Italy, we have 150,000 winemakers. In US, 85% of the wine production is owned by 7 companies. You don't have this thing, you know, but like, you know, getting together with small growers, small producers. In somehow, I have noticed that most of the books I'm reading is about how do you become a billionaire? You know, Tim Ferriss and all this coach, you know, man. It is about how do you make your business go into becoming a unicorn. I don't give a fucking shit to become a unicorn. I don't want to become billionaire. I don't even know what to do with the money that I have right now. I want to do something good. If I give me a business that's $7-8 million, for me, it's more than fine. And nobody's discussing about this. Nobody's discussing formulas to develop medium to small companies. How do they get to medium to more efficient, and the quality of the company? I don't want to sell shit. I want to sell something that is good for me, good for the people, good for the big community and for my employees. And I've noticed that if I start to play with social media, they will always give me suggestions like how to become Kim Kardashian. I don't give a shit about having 10 million followers. And, you know, I'm sorry, maybe someone loved Kim Kardashian. I'm saying she's doing a great job from her side. I don't want to offend anyone, but it's not that the point. The point is that to me, you can have a beautiful life with $5 million a year. Well, but nobody's teaching you how to do that.
Yeah, I think that.
I'll give you.
Sorry,
I'll cut in here real quick.
I mean, there's a lot that we could talk about unpacking there. But the first thing that I want to comment on is obviously your passion. You start talking about Yellowtail, you say the word Yellowtail, if anyone's around you, they got to look out. I feel like they'll chase them with
duck.
Yeah, but the other thing that it reminds me of is it reminds me of the leadership aphorism, and I'm going to butcher it, but it's something along the lines of the best person to have power is the person who doesn't want power, right? The best person to have a huge business is the person who's not seeking out to make a huge business. You clearly want to have the impact on the one.
Where did you get this?
I don't know. We'll look it up. We'll put it in the show notes afterward. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
But yeah, I really think that's true for you, because the people who are looking to make that sort of big impact are the ones who are most likely to have the unicorn. You don't want the unicorn, but that's you have the potential to have that sort of impact. But the
I was going to bring
specific,
in. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Last thing, the specific tactic that I think that just you pretty much did it here is Italian winemaker explains why you should never drink Yellowtail. You can record a video with that, just your rant, right? That's something that has potential to go viral, not guaranteed, but if it does, if you want to learn how to appreciate wine that's better than Yellowtail, go to community.wine and we'll teach you what you need to appreciate. You can record that to be a 2-minute video, right? It'd be entertaining for Americans because you have the accent, the passion is there. And also to someone, I drank a decent amount of wine in my life, and I can tell I don't like this as much as other wines that I've had, but I can't tell you why. I can say that it's a little bitter. It makes my stomach a little upset drinking Yellowtail, but I don't really know why. I can't pinpoint it. And if you can make it so that I feel smarter and I can explain to people, oh, yellowtail is no good because this, this, and this, and you can explain that to me in 2 minutes, you've got me hooked. That I'm going to start saying, oh, this is, it's not just this hoity-toity thing to become a sommelier. I'm going to have to take hours and hours of classes. You've provided that value in 2 minutes for me as I sip my yellowtail.
One other big challenge I should mention, which I think I wrote for you guys before, was the fact that our community.wine project it's set up to be a global type of a project. It started mainly with Italians and Americans, simply because those are kind of our two bigger markets, and so the common language was English. But having a double language is a bit of a challenge for us, because right now we are not using multi-language on the site for the mere fact that BuddyPress, the platform we use, has one glitch in which, like I said, the answers for our quizzes cannot be done in both languages. So that's really something that we're struggling with, because the Italians think it's all in English, the Americans think it's all in Italian. And that's, I think, partially something where we need to kind of get over that obstacle and to really move forward properly, where users feel comfortable and safe where they are, where they understand. I think we suffer from a lack of rationality sometimes as well, which we suffer more with the American market for that fact. If we go too rational, though, we start to lose the Italian market. And so finding the way to navigate through that challenge is one of our biggest ones.
You think Italians are irrational?
No.
From my point of view, I don't think Americans are really irrational.
No, we're probably, yeah.
After COVID, I don't think Italians are more irrational than Americans. But anyway, this is my just.
Alessandro, calm down. You're getting irrational. Come on.
In terms of other things we've tried, mainly we are using our MailChimp list as our main marketing source. We have not really ever invested much in Facebook ads and in any type of ads with Google or anything, simply because we've never really had great results. I don't know if it wasn't good marketing people before, but the idea of just throwing a ton of money at that, we're kind of cautious before we go down that road, but that's something we really haven't explored properly. Our main thing is we are kind of working on more of the Seth Godin technique, which is finding your tribes. So we know who our tribes are. They're wine students, they're restaurant owners, they're sommeliers, wine passionates. And so we need to, I think, start to utilize our tribes more and utilize our current members and people like this more to help us spread the word.
One thing I'll throw in there, just that's been interesting, the boat, I don't think the boat is completely left on this, just because we're still dealing with the pandemic and quarantine. Anything that you can do to support individuals that are in the same situation, right? Of kind of, folks that are sommeliers or restaurant owners or whatnot, and they're trying to figure out, hey, what do we do right now? And just getting them together, maybe bringing them, experts or people who seem to have some things to talk about on the topic. That's an interesting way to go with that, trying to create that community. I think.
You had mentioned that one of the opportunities that you talked about is for restaurants that are underserved right now, having their sommeliers come and help with your platform a little bit. So it sounds like you're trying that out. Regarding the dual language challenge, that to me seems like an almost trivial technical solution. Like if you could, I don't know, throw $5,000 at it, something, it's not going to be a crazy amount of money to solve that, and just create the videos in both Italian and in English. Maybe that's not a perfect solution right now, but at least you can see which market it takes off with more. I don't know how many videos that you have in your platform, but if you have that ability, then as you're describing creating content that's in between the two, you're for no one, because the Italians don't want you because you're not Italian enough, and the Americans don't want you because you're too irrational. So if you can separate it and create both pieces, you may find one that's a winner and you get to focus on that more down the line, but definitely don't want to be in the middle where people can say, no, you're not for me. Where both camps can say, no, you're not for me.
Yeah, that's definitely a trend of kind of niching down as far as possible and reaching a specific market. So, right now you have community.wine. It's not I don't think you could get this domain, but it's not whatever community is in Italian.vino, right? I mean, it's community.wine, and you could focus on an English market, English speaking market, and let Italians that can can understand it and participate go ahead and do that. But by focusing in on a market that is very clear, and maybe even beyond just an American market, a specific type of American, right? Whether it's, you could even go as deep as, is it restaurant owners or is it sommeliers? There may be something that
or is it
you could even
people
niche
who
down
drink
even
Yellowtail?
It could be people who drink
the Yellowtail drinker market is probably huge.
All these issues, we are actually, come si dice, abbiamo fatto un'offerta di lavoro?
No, we did a job. We made a job.
We made a job offer for a chief marketing officer. We had, at the moment, 450 requests of people, because we need a guy or a
strategist
or a woman or that give us a strategy to all the things we do. Because, for example, one of my idea was when I was in March. It was actually before, in September. I had the idea of community.wine last year or in October. I don't know why I thought we need to be prepared for the next year. There is something that I feel strange. We need to cover us from maybe something's going to happen if we have to close the restaurant. They were looking at me like I was crazy because there was no COVID around. I know I'm talking about October last year. So,
and the restaurant's not going to burn down.
And they said, I don't know. I was feeling it. So the idea was about collecting a lot of restaurants' emails. Most of them, we know them, like we are friends of a lot of restaurants in New York and other places and so on.
What he's kind of trying to say, I guess, also is that we are still trying to figure out the way to get we know that we need to work with people that are close to us and start there and let the idea spread. But a way to kind of grow our email base and we have of course we can find our own friends' emails and things and our who own restaurants and things like this, but to go beyond that and to start to find wine student emails, we're really struggling to. So we've used Facebook groups that are interested in wine, and we've posted there, but we do know that, of course, Facebook posts get to like 5% of people. So potentially people don't even see them, but we've kind of used Facebook as a means to kind of put posts there. But that's really a struggle, is we're, to try to find emails to be able to reach out to people. We never
gave continuity to our job. We didn't have like a professional figure to deal with. There's a webmaster in California but he's not his job actually to do this stuff. So we're looking for this. We would like to create a think tank for a month and a half, to pay 3-4 people, one chief senior and another 3 assistant. So to find the right way, we're planning to invest not too much, about between like $40,000, $100,000 in the next year. And to go really straight, we have 50,000, 40,000 profiled emails. We have, like, with all our things, maybe 30,000 followers, 40,000 followers, 300 videos, 400 winemakers that follow us. We have emails of a lot of students and so on. We have 900 wine club members. So we have affiliate programs. How do we create, at the moment we do 2-3 subscription per day. How do we make it 5, 6, 7 per day? I don't think it's impossible. I mean, we are close enough to change the history of wine production in Italy. Seriously, I'm not joking.
No, it's
true. It's true. I mean, I don't want to show off, but this is what is really happening. It's a big thing. In this moment, is huge. Creating a community of artisans. In this moment, everyone is struggling, that they are not selling the wine at the restaurants because restaurants are closed or they're not working enough, working on peer-to-peer. This wine club is beautiful also for Americans winemakers, or for French winemakers. Everyone in the world could technically join the potential unicorn. I'm talking about it, but who cares? We can, and how do we match all these things? I was screaming to them, what is my mailing list of winemakers? What is my mailing list? And they were not able to organize it properly because they are struggling with the community, because I was adding them a lot of things to do. They were not able to follow me somehow. I feel like a kind of an idiot Elon Musk sometimes.
He's literally...
no, vabbè, joking. Però, so the point is, we've seen this business growing 30, 40 twice. Actually, the last year was we had a growth of 90% in 1 year. And now, boom, we have this. I was happy because, guys, we create something on 5 different levels, all the cooking class and stuff and tastings and the community we are creating and the links and stuff. We are opening probably, we shouldn't say that, but Bobby, we're probably opening in New York soon. Is there a lot of people listening to this?
Yeah, just a couple 100,000. No big deal. It'll be fine. No, a couple things that we can cut it. If you really want to, we can cut that.
Yeah, it will be better because it's not.
Okay, yeah. So
that's my frustration is about. And also that I start to, maybe I get in touch with the digital marketing smart guys, and they tell me so terrible things. And we do this, we pay this money that brings nowhere. And at the end, they're just using our mailing list. I've seen, I gave you 70 members of the wine club with my campaign. Yeah, but that was my contact, not yours. You didn't do anything. You just sent an email. That was actually, I'm talking about an experience we had with a company.
Okay, hold on. So to clarify what our issue was also, we really wanted to reach out and try to find, we used a company that created a funnel for us, and they promised that they were going to have all these great results. We told them to focus on non-Risholi contacts. So they were focusing on bringing in new lead generation for us. Unfortunately, that didn't work out so well. But one of the worst things about a lot of these digital marketing groups and such is that we have a brand that has authenticity. That is probably the best thing we have going. It is for sure the best thing we have going for us, and we don't want to sell this. And so that's really, really important to us going forward with a marketing strategy, is to not fall into a mass product, promoted product like Coca-Cola and someone who's selling t-shirts and things like this. So we really were trying to promote our wine club in the EU to other people that didn't know us, also because the EU is much easier for us to ship in case anything ever happens with import-export with US. We were a little bit more protected. So trying to develop this concept in the EU is really important to us as well.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I'd like to
action step for the listener out there who may have some experience with marketing. Create a marketing plan and outline what these guys should do. You just lay it all out there. This is, do this first month, second month, they've got this year plan. You heard about some of the pitfalls that they faced in the past. You heard about the budget that they have and the authenticity, things that they're aiming to accomplish. So take that and create a plan for these guys.
We are also interviewing for this. So it may be a position that we could even hire from. We are willing to even work abroad with somebody. We're not necessarily focused on working with an Italian only. They don't have to be local. But that's something that we're interested in, possibly, is hiring someone for maybe a 3-4 month period of time to really work beside us and strategize on e-commerce and marketing strategies.
Sometimes I have the perception that there is a kind of a contradiction when you're looking for someone that is helping you to grow your business. And I used to say, wait a minute, at a certain point, it's like we're looking for someone that knows how to find gold. I mean, if someone knows how to find gold, he'd take it from himself. It's not, most of these people, they sell shit. Like, they just don't sell. Most of these people is just a kind of a fraud. Like, you go there and they just, okay, that's kind of the consultant thing is about strange. What do you do? You're a consultant. Bill Hicks used to make really bad jokes about consultants, but
want to bring in. Yeah, I want to bring in something now. This isn't something you guys have to do, but maybe from talking about the advantages, we could get somewhere interesting. And one big trend right now is podcasting itself, right? We're on a podcast right now. Chris and I have a podcast, and I run a group where we talk about starting and growing podcasts as well. And the interesting thing about podcasting is that you can have a lot of advantages at the same time without without a lot of expense. It's like its own advantage. Like we were telling you before we started the show, it's like, oh, what is this part of, what's the major business? We're like, well, we're kind of just doing it for free because we get to meet you, you know, you're awesome. And we have a great excuse to drink a glass of wine and have a good conversation about business. And so one thing that I keep thinking back to in this, that you want to sort of be an influencer even more, you already are a little bit of an influencer within your community, be even more of an influencer and actually get it traction. Like, so people feel like they have a reason to pay attention and a reason to engage with you. And those are two great things that you can get out of podcast, right? You can say, hey, yeah, I know you, you have a restaurant, you know me, I know you. But instead of just saying, hey, I have got this thing, go just log in and do something non-interactive and try it out. Come, let's have a conversation. You know, we'll record it and we'll put it out there for other people who are working on their business, you know, and you can share whatever insights that are going on for you with wine, with business, the pandemic, all this stuff. And then the audience then can also participate. And that's again, we've been experimenting with, it hasn't worked as much in this project, but in other projects, I'll actually have a bunch of people in on a Zoom call. You know, we have like 50 to 100 people on a Zoom call, and they're just kind of enjoying nerding out on whatever topic it is, just kind of being there, having a place to hang out. And it gives you an excuse to meet and brainstorm and determine the future of the industry really with other people that you respect, and also have that influence where other people go, that's great. And then beyond that, if the people who are watching and as participants find value in it, it can be a source of revenue, you know, some sort of subscription fee where people say, hey, I really value this kind of, you know, we're talking about the latest news and the latest trends, right, are very useful when you have some type of media that you're putting out there. Now you are the latest trend, right? You are the latest trend in the wine industry by, you know, inviting people to share their opinions, right? And this becomes what people are talking about. So I don't know if, I'm not telling you guys to start a podcast, although, you know, it's really fun to talk with you on a podcast, but maybe there's some lessons to learn from that to bring to the community. Maybe there's some sort of interviews you can bring, inviting people to come in and be an expert, share their opinion, start a discussion about what is the latest trend here, and put that information out there.
I think an even simpler way of starting that, I think that would be a great thing to get through, but you can even start a Instagram or YouTube series where it's Alessandro drinks Yellowtail, or Alessandro drinks whatever, this bottle of wine. Not the entire thing. I don't know how fast you drink wine. Probably not.
Alessandro's not going to drink Yellowtail, Chris. You've already established this.
But I mean, you know, well, you start out, but you do that, and then you can explain, okay, I'm taking the sip. This is what I'm thinking as I'm drinking. This is what I'm noticing. And you have that so that people are seeing that experience. And if you want to get more of this, you want to learn how to appreciate wine the way that Alessandro appreciates it, join us at community.wine. It's completely free. You'll get this palette and be able to understand what you should be looking for when you're drinking wine.
But this is not the point. The point is, it's actually really important to underline this. The problem is not that this wine is better than Yellowtail. It's not that challenge. You cannot really compare. Just what I would like to say, that these two things are different. A roasted wild chicken that we had in Detroit the last time that was beautiful on the fire has nothing to do with the chicken McNuggets. It's a two different world. I don't know why they call it the same way, but they are two different worlds. What you're drinking is a beverage with the taste of wine, but it's not wine. So that's as long as you know that what I'm actually trying to say is about, I don't want you to drink better wines. I would like you to drink wine. I would like you to be aware about the fact that you have a countryside, you have a place where maybe it would be better, instead of having all corn like in most of the Midwest, you can start to grow some wild apples. You can start to grow little things that maybe were lost. You can start to get back to a biodiversity. This will affect from an anthropological, cultural, geographical, and ecological point of view, an economical point of view. And this is one of the things that will also be able to get in touch to this strong device that you have in your country. We have it in ours too. Is about this world divided in these two big thing is about, Democrats and Republicans and Trump and not Trump. Same thing we have. because we're talking about going back to the countryside. It's a value for Republicans and for Democrats. It's about, if you are a strong right wing, it's about, I'm defending my land and I might defending your. Most of the strong right wing are people that have lost their identity. That's why they build walls. They start to get scared of the foreigners because they don't know who they are anymore. So that's why I know it, because I come from Rome and we had the same issue 1,400 years ago, the 500, 600 years ago. We started to build walls when the Romans have lost their sense of, being Romans in a way, So that's the thing. It's about using wine as a weaver, socializing also. Alcohol gives a lot of aggressivity. It's a really bad drug. But wine, drank it properly and slowly, it's a completely different perception. It makes feel people much better in sense of interaction, but it have to be good. It have to be paired properly, and you have to tell the story with the wine. You have. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so that definitely that makes sense what you're saying. But in terms of where your target avatar is and what they're starting in, we should dive into that one. But my speculation is that the target person is not thinking on that level. For them, Yellowtail is wine, and I'm not saying that you need to start with Yellowtail, but maybe you start with doing some tastings for better wines that the average consumer is starting with, but they don't know what to appreciate in those wines. I think being able to explain it in those tactical terms is how you get that entry point. And yeah, they can reach this nirvana of understanding of everything that wine can do for you, right? But you're not going to get people starting there.
No, trust me. Allora, on our real experience, we have a lot of wine club members that are entering our tasting, and after 2 hours, they were better than any professional sommelier, and they used to drink the worst wine in the world.
I believe that.
We had some truly Texas sure. people, they were drinking only beers and maybe really bad wines, and now they are supporting us. So trust me, taste is not like listening to Free Jets music, or being an expert of Russian literature from the 19th century.
Sure. I think
it takes really a couple of hours well done.
So a couple hours, right? But you're not going to get there in a 2-minute video. And you have to think about what's your goal in that 2-minute video? What is their starting point? Who are you making this video for? And what can you accomplish really within 2 minutes? And you're talking about this big Nirvana piece. Maybe you can get there with Community.wine. I think that you probably can, because you've had a lot of experience with the in-person events, and I'm sure that you've translated that well there. But you need to pare down your expectation for that initial starting point. So one question that I wanted to ask you is, overall, who is the ideal person who's going to come into Community.wine?
That's a good question.
Wine students,
curious people. People that are willing to change their habits. They are a bit disappointed about their food and wine habits. I think that's enough for me. And they like to travel in a different way. So it's not, if you have the mass cultural type of tourist or the really super strong affected with your habits, that doesn't really want, they don't care, they wouldn't even get in touch with us. So
I can tell you who it would be. A person like myself. So I was studying wine without a compass. I was basically just assuming that if I took more classes and gained more technical knowledge and more understanding of wine, that was the answer. It took me coming to Italy to really understand really what wine could be all about. And to me, wine has just been the medium for me to understand things on a deeper level. So for history, for example, for me it was hard for me to place things. But when I started to learn more about wine, and when with Hitler, what he was doing with wine back in World War II, suddenly other things started making sense for me. But I used wine as the medium and the vehicle. So I think someone who's just curious, who likes wine, who has passion for wine, but maybe doesn't have passion for the alcohol in it, which was where I was. I didn't care so much about getting drunk or anything like that. I just found that behind wine, there was story, there was a way to travel differently. It brought you to a countryside. And so people who are curious and who love wine, but know that there's something more behind it, but they just don't know what it is. That's kind of the person.
What happened with Hitler and so on?
All the
What are you talking? Hitler was a non-drinker. Hitler didn't drink alcohol at all.
He was collecting it.
That's a good point to promote our wine club.
neither do some other influential political figures. I would, or at least claim. Let's say. So I just wanted to say, gosh, what was it? Oh, well, instead of taking this direction of saying who is the ideal client for Community.wine, question who is already, like, who's the most enthusiastic of everyone there? Is there one person? Is there 5 people? Like, who are the people that are already there, and what are the defining characteristics? You have any thoughts on that?
A few of the people that show up more frequently, we have a few of our wine club members that became community members. We also have a group of winemakers. There's probably about 5 or 6 winemakers that consistently post on there and respond. But I don't know that I could profile them more specifically.
No. We need to say community wine at the moment is a kind of a strange, dark, dead place. I mean, it's not really working. I mean, there are 1,200 people getting there, but there's not really a lot of interaction.
How well do you know those 5 to 6 winemakers that post?
I know a lot. They're all friends. We have like at least, I would say, 70, 80 winemakers that we became friends. Rochelle is a big name. We've been selling a lot of their wines during the years. They came here tons of times. We have a winemaker week here coming here usually at the restaurant. Not in this time maybe, but actually from next Sunday, yes, every week there will be a winemaker here. So they're all friends. I think
you've got a great opportunity. I think you've got a great opportunity actually to not focus on the people who need to learn about wine as much as the winemakers. You've already got relationships with them. Other nice factor, although there may be some variation in this in the pandemic, but is that they're winemakers, so they're already invested in a large project. So in terms of monetizing a community, if you did want to monetize a community like that, to say, oh, hey, there's a subscription to be part of this group, and it's $50 a month, $100 a month, whatever it is, it doesn't sound like a lot to a winemaker who has a vineyard and they're paying, thousands and tens of thousands of dollars a month and whatever mortgages on the property or something like that. So it might be interesting to see like who's there already, who's already has like kind of like again, it may be small, but an excitement enough to say, I wanted to put some posts up here. Why did you want to put some posts up here? What was your goal? Oh, maybe I wanted to, even if it was the goal of putting posts there to get people to try and drink their wines, and maybe you're not attracting those people to the site anymore, but maybe you're kind of creating this sort of community with them and saying, hey, we're going to meet, we're going to have this wine community, we're going to open to the public, other people can join, that we're going to start to work together to become the influencers in this market. And you're going to, and you can, it will be a no-brainer for you to pay to be part of this community or contribute to it or whatever the ask is from them, because of the value you're going to get out of the kind of group effort of it, the group output.
So in the interest of creating some tension here, I'm going to disagree completely with Ethan on that recommendation.
I'm going to pour myself another glass.
I know you're going to need it for this smackdown I'm going to put on here. What Ethan is describing there is a little bit of creating a two-sided marketplace where you have both the winemakers coming in and the aspiring students who are going to learn from each other, and the winemakers can sell to those students. So the winemakers may pay some money to be part of that community. I think that it would make more sense to focus almost exclusively on the aspiring students and try and get them into your wine club directly. And you've already, in our pre-interview call, I was surprised that you didn't highlight this more, but during the videos for Community.wine, part of the educational content, you really benefit from having the wines that are part of your club as you're going through the learning material in Community.wine. So there's a certain percentage of people who are just going to want to do it, a large percentage of people that just want to do it for free. But some people who are really getting into it are going to want to order the wine and learn more, hands-on with the real material, right?
That was the goal. Yeah, was
exactly.
What percentage of people who are members of Community.wine start out in community.wine and then become a subscriber of the club?
I have no clue. Zero. I don't know.
No,
well, you said it was it was the other way around, right? Some of the subscribers became members of the community, right?
It's a two-way street. So no, actually it's kind of a circle. So some of our, as soon as someone becomes a wine club member, they get an automated MailChimp, an automation basically that comes out that tells them that we have this community and there's a wine school where they can learn more about the wines that are in the wine club. And on the opposite side of that, Fabio Amore, one of our most recent wine club signups, was a heavily active community member who just signed up for the wine club. So it actually, the goal, one for sure. No, I need to try to find a way to get into MailChimp to figure out.
We had a 78. I personally, to me, I perceive that in a complex business like ours, sometimes we see these waves coming, boom, of things, of people. And we don't know where they come from. We try to track them. And maybe there was an article, like, for example, it happened, an article on New York Times or Carbonara with Salumeria. So that one actually gave a lot of, or Anthony Bourdain that came at Rimessa, for example, like 10 years ago, that boom, at a certain point, I received this way. But most of the time, I think it's a complex amount of things. We did community wine, we did some videos, 12 articles came out with the different newspaper in Italy, and we had this affiliate program. So it's all the thing. It's not just the fact that you go, and we used to talk about the Shakespeare effect, that our friend Chris Foley, he used to organize this music festival. There was also a Shakespeare festival, and he has to collect the money. And he used to receive a lot of money for the Shakespeare festival, but then nobody came to the Shakespeare festival. But they liked the idea that there was a Shakespeare festival. so the idea that, they like the idea that there is a community that they can learn about wine. Maybe they don't, but they like the idea that they could. The point is, like, when we sell the wine club, we don't just sell a wine club. And 99% of the wine clubs is just crap. They just sell shitty wine with no information. We have videos, winemaker, support of the winemaker, support of the sommelier, a tasting notes, and a wine school, all included, and a tasting for free.
It's not a wine club. It's an entire wine experience.
We should call it differently, actually. But, that's what we're trying this thing here in Italy now, because, for example, it's impossible to sell a wine club to Italians. They don't even know what is it. So we're selling a wine school. And by the way, if you join the wine school, the wine is for free. We give you 24 bottles. That's how we're putting it, in the opposite way. At the moment, we have a couple of subscribers with that. We started a couple of weeks ago, but I don't know. This is another thing. I don't need 10 to 20,000 people. Our wine club will stop with 10,000 members. 10,000 members is the opposite, because we don't have the wine enough. So we will not, otherwise we start to get to industrial ones, which we'll want. So
one positioning idea that jumps to mind for me is, especially now during this pandemic, it's very topical to have a replacement date night, right? My wife and I, we're not going to go out to a restaurant as we did before. But if we have a nice bottle of wine and we have this video to guide us through the experience, it's almost a replacement sommelier that we can do anytime. That sort of positioning is attractive. And if you can sell it as, you have 6 dates, a husband who doesn't do well at planning dates, here's 6 that you have that are pre-planned for you, that we're going to guide you. We'll give you some advice on the food to order during this time too, and you have that entire thing planned. Your wife is going to love it. I'm just going to keep popcorning a couple ideas here. Another one that jumps out to me is your wine club doesn't ship over the holidays. You have 2 main shipments that you have, the spring and the fall, as I understand.
We actually do. We call it we can ship through the holidays as well. And that was something recently I was just thinking of myself, is that once we get past fall, it might seem that you can't have the wine club anymore. So I was already thinking of how do I change the wording of that so that someone doesn't think that they missed out their opportunity. As long as we have wines, we can ship. At some point we can run out because we do order X amount of wine, and when it's finished, it's finished. But
at this moment we have winemakers. At the moment we have it. This moment we can do whatever we want, because winemakers, like a lot of winemakers, they're selling 50% less now. So they have
wines are available.
There's a lot of food sellers at the moment all over the world, so it's not a big problem. We also, if they pay an extra, we can do an expedite shipping in 5 days. It's on their doorstep.
Are you saying Are you
Sure.
saying that wine is a lot less expensive now than it would have been, what it typically is?
We had some nice discounts, but no, I wouldn't say no too much.
Okay.
We're dealing with, technically, it's not even true because most of the wines we're dealing with, you're talking about winemakers that have like 3, 4, 6,000 bottles production. Our wine club is 900 members, so sometimes we buy we bought the entire production of at least 6 labels of the 24. So it's also interesting because most of the ones are unique. They are not on the market, and they made them from this one here, for example.
And show the back of the label. So
yeah, this is you can see the back of the label was made for us because this is a wine that technically doesn't exist.
Community.wine and the Risholi logo. I don't know if you can see it. Plus, there's the story of the winemaker that we personalize on the back. So every bottle for our wine club is going to have a way to promote the community to promote these winemakers as well. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think we'll take a picture of that. If you can take a picture of that, send it to us. We'll include it in the show notes there so the listener can see that. The concept that comes to mind for me as you're describing the community.wine and the wine club is the flywheel, Jim Collins concept, where you have a positive feedback loop where more members in one group feeds more members in the other, and it just continues on.
That's the idea.
That's exactly what
you're. But it's not really working. This thing.
Well, it's not really working right now, but it has a potential to work. It's working in small doses, right? But there may be opportunities to find out from those individuals what is it that turned you over the edge, right? Sure. And that's individual conversations with those people. They would love the chance to talk to the two of you, right? If they haven't already had that opportunity, the people who are most engaged in community.wine, they would love the chance to have a 15-minute personalized consultation, and you just understand.
I'm going to call people.
No, I was thinking about to do a tasting challenge. At a certain point, at the center balcony, involve all our wine club members to open a bottle of the wine club all together. I need to see which platform can do it, but to try to do the biggest tasting ever.
That'd be
like
awesome.
Having 300 people all over the world at the same time talking about the wine club and everything. That was.
You can do that on Zoom. That you can have up to 300 people right there.
That's good.
We'll have to figure out how to do it.
We can do it before on Thanksgiving. Like that's good.
People are looking for. So this is an incredible opportunity. People are looking for social connection opportunities. They don't have the ability to go out and do a wine tasting with a bunch of strangers. They like to go with their friends, but they don't have the opportunity to do that. I know early on in the pandemic, we would play games online, but that got boring relatively quickly. If you gave me the chance to do a wine tasting with 6 of my friends all across the country, and we can come in together and we can, sip the wine and you talk us through it, that could be a premium thing that you do. You could have a free version, but you could charge a decent amount for that.
I'll give you some. So depending on how tech you want to go. First of all, if you wanted to set something up on Zoom, sell tickets, get people to sign up. I've had a little bit to drink, but I'll help you guys with that if you need help, because I've been setting up online meetings. I don't think I'll go back on that. But to give the listener something.
Okay. If you want to,
I was going to say,
help us to do this, we're really, really I mean, if you want to.
Yeah, I'll help you get the logistics together to make sure you can get people together and
offer you 6 bottles of wine.
I will take you up on that. I've got Yellowtail here.
We're generous.
No, that would be
but what I wanted
to
add though is depending on how deep you want to get into sort of the technical cutting edge, right? And for the listener, it might be interesting to hear what some of the possibilities are. There's a software that is just, it may not even go anywhere. It's so fresh. It's really cheap at the moment. It's called Topia.io. And it's a software.
What is it? Sorry?
Topia.
Where it's like Zoom, but people can go and congregate in little groups as opposed to
Topia.
Topia.io.
We'll include it in the show notes and send it to you afterward. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's and that is actually really cheap at the moment because they just invented it. It's not super high quality in terms of the video, but it doesn't really matter because of the sort of interesting factor. So that's what I was thinking about with Chris saying like, oh, I want to have a little group of people, my friends, but you could have a group where there's like thousands of people, but his group of 5 friends could go over and do their wine tasting together, but then come back to like a main group to listen to what you had to say about it, which is kind of interesting. There's also a software, which I can't remember the name of, which is way more expensive, which has been doing this longer, which actually hosts, it's almost like a virtual office. So same kind of concept. You can go in little rooms, you can sit at tables, you can literally sit down at tables. You can choose, here's a table that I want to sit at with these people. And then you can move to a different table if you're getting sick of that conversation. I'll look up I'll look up the name of that software and share that as well.
Why don't we do this thing together?
There we go.
Yeah, why not? All we need is one glass of wine for me to jump into a new business idea. Now, the other thing that comes to mind for me here is, I hate to use the term influencer marketing, but I wonder how often, if you were to send a case of this wine to certain celebrities, if you send it to 100 of them, you're almost guaranteed to get one hit, and they have 1 million followers. And I don't know if that pays out.
We talked about it. Yeah.
We're considering it. Yeah. I mean, we don't know how to necessarily reach the celebrities exactly, but
well, it reminds me of we had Chris Mead.
Was my tasting actually. Chris Paul was at my. Chris Paul was in my
Chris Paul. Basketball player. Yeah. So he's already a fan.
$7,000 of wine. So
yeah, exactly.
And he's a great palate, really great. But he knows wine a lot.
You know who jumps the first person that jumps to mind? He's not maybe the celebrity, but the San Antonio Spurs coach. Look him up, Greg Popovich. He has an incredible palate. He's very famous for that. Okay. He'll go and buy hundreds of thousands of dollars of wine at any restaurant. So if you could get one of his players, Chris Paul is probably connected to someone like that. If you can get back in front of him and get in front of Greg Popovich, you were on your way. You're already on your way.
So I have to ask this for our listener who is, we're more in the business realm, right? And Gary Vee is kind of a first person that comes to mind when I think of like wine, business, all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I don't even know what he looks like from the perspective of an actual, restaurant, actual people dealing with wine on a daily basis. Is that somebody that you would seek to align yourselves with, or you wouldn't even bother? Or
Gary Vaynerchuk? Yeah, Gary. Yeah. So I mean, he's viral, of course. He's got a different way of speaking about wine that's probably more in alignment with us than a lot of other people are. Even Madeline Pouquet from Wine Folly. I mean, Wine Folly is maybe not our exact. They're a bit more like Wine 101. They're great for kind of really early on people that are interested in just really starting with the basics. But she does some playful things with her video. She was licking rocks to describe how, the taste of rocks, literally like licking rocks and describing it. But yeah, Gary Vaynerchuk, he could be an interesting, he's got a business sense. I don't know if I think he has his own wine club though. So there may be, in terms of him promoting us, I don't know that there might be a conflict of interest there. But he's a guy that if you can get him speaking about your thing, he's got a big following.
Just to spitball a little bit further on like the biggest wine tasting in the world, right? Ever. Yeah, the online biggest online wine tasting, right? It's like featuring, you guys, Gary Vee, Madeline Pouquet, and then they each come up and they bring a wine or two. Right. And they offer them to the people. And then not only does each one of them bring some attention to the event, but you get to cross-pollinate each other's message lists and audiences. Nice. And if you're
virtual summits are
events like that. Yeah, but probably not in the wine space.
Not in the wine space.
The other reality is that there's room for everybody in this. We're not looking to take over an entire, 1 million people follow. We're not trying to do that. So we find our few people, and maybe someone who's not interested in us could be interested in something Gary's doing or Wine Folly is doing. Great. That's room for everybody.
Of community. Yeah. We're talking about a market that technically is 0.1%. We want to get to 0.2, and that's it. All the rest is for others. I'm not planning to become, become billionaire. Maybe we'll see next year, but who knows? people change, the ring of the power is strange. Però at this point, to me, is like I would maintain. And so the rest is, I've noticed with the organic champagne winemakers, they did the same thing. And they did it really in 2 years. Boom, like this. And now everyone's speaking about it. And it's a good thing because it's also, there is this community value that in this moment is strong. Especially COVID, is about connecting nations, connecting countries, connecting people that cannot be connected internationally now, based on good value and exchanging. Because it's not just about Italian wines, it's about American wines, it's about French wines, it's about American potatoes, it's about everything potentially. It's about food and wine. That's my industry, but it could be about everything technically, like it could be community.flowers, community.whatever,
I want to pass this along. I want to pass something along to you guys. We, as you were talking about, not feeling like you have the ambitions of being a unicorn. If it happens, it happens, that kind of thing. We've just become part of a podcast, a newly created podcast network, the Indie Hackers Podcast Network. But I think if you haven't heard of Indie Hackers, it's a little bit more tech oriented, but look it up because it's interesting. What he started with a community, and it's a community of people who he actually was part of the Y Combinator accelerator, which is all about creating unicorns, basically. It didn't create one, but realized, hey, but wait, we can be indie hackers. We can create these small businesses, make good income for ourselves, have it be meaningful. And it's kind of a whole website of people working on ideas like that, where, they've decided that that's not the most important thing, that they need a VC funded startup, but they do want to be in business and they want to do something meaningful. So I thought it was, that there's resonance around that kind of feeling that you have, and I kind of appreciate you sharing that.
We are coming up on time here. We're over time, actually. So we really appreciate the conversation with you guys. It's a huge opportunity. Of course, you can feel that passion coming from you. So the listener out there who agrees with this, take some action, create that business plan for these guys. What are some of the things that they can do to grow the wine club, grow community.wine, and make it through this pandemic better than before, and be that tip of the spear when it comes to Italian winemaking and an appreciation of food, this vision that Lindsay and Alessandro are describing here. So thank you guys very much for the conversation. It's been a pleasure. Where can people go to learn more about you? We mentioned community.wine. Can you spell the name of the wine club?
WineTastingRome.com.
WineTastingRome.com.
It's the easiest because it's community.wine, WineTastingRome.com. Here you have the restaurant, our wine club, our community. Everything is in there.
Great. We will include that in the show notes.
Community.wine is actually just community.wine is the URL. So of course
it's not community.wine.com. It's community.wine or winetastingrome.com.
Great.
Or rossoliwineclub.com also.
But that they're not going to spell.
We'll include that all.
Community.wine. Community.wine is actually easier. Thank you very much. Bye. See you for the biggest tasting in the world. Okay.
I'm so excited for it. It'll be a ton of fun. And next time we'll have better wine than Yellowtail.
If you guys want to hang on for a second after we go offline, if there's any wrap up stuff we need to do,
we'll do that. So
I'll go
to the listener out there. Yeah, to the listener out there, thanks for joining us. We'll see you back with our regularly scheduled programming next week. And until then, run with some business ideas.
Thank you very much.
All right. If you guys don't mind.